Welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you've been before. My name's Stacey and I have just finished my first year at the Open University studying childhood and youth studies. I just wanted to give you a bit of an update because it's been a really long time since my last video, so apologies for that. And before we start, I would actually like to apologise to the people that have commented on my last video. I'm so sorry, I wasn't getting the notifications. I am now, and I will have responded by now. But yeah, I'm so sorry that I haven't responded until now. And thank you so much for commenting and interacting. I'm really, really grateful. So thank you. So where have I been? I think the last video I did, I talked about starting my second module in February. So I started my first module, which was an introduction to childhood and youth studies. No, an introduction to childhood studies and child psychology. That's what it was. I started that in October, and I was going to start DE 100, which is Introduction to Psychology, and I was going to start that in February, but I caught COVID, and as I already have fibromyalgia, it just knocked me for 6 this time. I don't know if it was like a different variant or whatever it was, but it made me really poorly and created a huge flare. So I was poorly for a really long time, months, and I was literally just scraping by, just making myself just do the work. I got quite a few weeks behind. So I called the university and I just said, look, is there any way I can defer this DE 100 module until October, because they have 2 start dates for that module. So some start in October, some start in February. And they were so kind and they sorted it all out. I didn't have to worry about any of it. It was so easy. And yeah, so that was all done. So I'm starting that in October, and I'm just sticking to one module at the moment because I feel like the last thing I want to do is either get poorly again or make myself poorly by taking on too much. So that was what was going on then. And then of course I had lots of catching up to do and things like that. So we've just got our results back last Tuesday. It's Monday today. And yeah, for those of you who don't know, I originally started this channel to sort of document some of my homeschooling activities and things like that with my son, Harrison. And he actually went back to school to like mainstream school. And he went back to school about 7 weeks ago now. So he finished year 5 with his class, and then he's going on to year 6 with them. So yeah, I no longer home educate. I mean, I do, but not singularly like on my own. He does school at school, and then we do some activities at home. So there won't really be any content like that. So yeah, that was a huge change for us, and to be honest, it was really emotional for me. But yeah, it is what it is, and it's done, and he's really happy where he is, so that's really all that matters. And yeah, so that sort of frees up time for me to do other things. I've got an interview tomorrow for a position that would be great if I get it, but if not, because it's a work from home position, so it shouldn't touch wood, affect my fibromyalgia too much, and it's part-time and it's really flexible, so I'm not overly concerned about how that will impact on us. And I don't have to start until September if I don't want to, like when Harrison goes back to school. So we'll see how that goes tomorrow. So yeah, that's sort of where we're at now. I'm feeling a lot better health-wise than I was, but that generally is the case in the summer, and then winter tends to like set me back a bit. So we'll see how we get on this year. So yeah, I've told you about I'm not doing the 2 modules now, so I'm just doing I'll just be in October starting DE 100 Introduction to Psychology, and I'm half looking forward to it and half dreading it, because I've heard a lot of people who have done that course they've said they didn't enjoy it. It was really, really work intensive. It was a huge step up from E102. So I'm preparing myself for that mentally, physically, making sure that I really take care of myself physically, and also trying to do a lot of reading and things like that, like pre-reading as much as I can. I will update you on my results. So I got my results for my overall year. So if you don't know, with the Open University, so for this particular course, E102, which is the one I showed you before, an introduction to, I won't focus, to childhood studies and child psychology. So with this one, we had 4 TMAs, so tutor marked assignments. So they were 4 essays basically, and we were so lucky. I feel like they obviously do this for a reason, but it really eases you into being back at university after 20 years. And it really, sorry, it's moving because my dog is moving and you're on my bed. Thank you. He's down now. So, it really eases you in a way that sort of you do a reading week. So a week of reading the text, doing some activities online around it, just to like help the information sink in, things like that. Then you'll have like a week of policy, for example. So it will be like policies around childhood and youth studies. So things like I've got it here. So it's the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child and things like that. That's the kind of thing that you will study, and you'll study little parts for that. And then you have like I don't know if they call it that actually. I always just used to call it a study week. So it was, it would teach you certain study skills that would be needed for your next assignment, which was perfect for me. And the tutorials sort of go along with that. So yeah, I feel really good about this module that I took. It was so interesting. I know I heard quite a few people say that they found it really dull, but it was right up my alley, and it confirmed that I'm on the right track with what I want to be doing. So like I said, we got our results for the whole thing. So we get our TMA results as we go along, usually about 2 weeks after you've submitted it. But this last one is called an EMTMA, which is an end of module tutor marked assignment. And I don't know if it's your tutor marks it and then it's moderated, or if somebody else marks it just to make sure that your tutor's not favouring you. I don't know. It's like a moderation thing. And that was months. So I submitted my last TMA in when was that? May, end of May. And then I just got the results back on the 19th of July. So it was quite a long wait. I'll be honest, it didn't really bother me that much because I had many other things going on. I did just sort of submit it, forget about it and move on. So overall I got a 90%, which I was thrilled with, which meant then that I got a distinction. So couldn't have been happier with that. I was thrilled. What I will say is I think I was particularly lucky with my tutor. He and I got on really well. He was super helpful. I only ever had one thing that I needed to go to him with was when I had COVID, but he was so helpful, and I found his tutorials really fun and engaging, and he very much, I was quite concerned that it would kind of be back to like being a child again, where they would talk to you like you were a child. But it wasn't like that at all. It's fully sort of a collaboration, it felt like. Yeah, so I found it was much more like a collaboration in a way, where they gave us all the information we needed and we just needed to do the work. And yeah, that's one thing I will say. That's a huge top tip of mine, is that the tutorials are so helpful. You definitely should go to your tutorials, make use of them. They give you amazing hints and tips, and sort of guide you where you need to be going to. And sometimes you'd be thinking about the TMA that you've got coming up, and well, for me anyway, I'd be on one track, and then I would have the tutorial and then realise I wasn't on the right track at all from what they said, and it sort of helped guide me to where I needed to be. So yeah, I wanted to just give you some sort of hints and tips. I don't know what you would say, just some useful things that I found really useful for my first year. And because I know that when I looked on YouTube before I even wanted to be at the OU, I was looking into different options, and I didn't see an awful lot of things like this. So here we go. So like I said, this is the book that I was given. You're provided this, they send it out to you. So this is what's called your reader, and it was super interesting to me anyway. It's something that I will definitely keep to refer back to, and you study this along with you have online weeks, so you'll have online learning weeks where everything you need to know will be from on what they've provided you. And then one of the first things that I actually found sort of super useful was, I was so eager to get going, and it feels like a really long time between sort of the end of August, when everyone else seems to be thinking about going back to school, to the beginning of October, which is when most October starts begin. And so reading through the guidance that I was provided by the OU, it said about reading this book here. So this is An Introduction to Childhood Studies. It is an OU Press book, and it says, you know, you don't have to read this. It's not required reading. But I thought, oh, I'll get it. I did actually buy it. I've got a couple of copies of this actually, but they were all like second edition and things like that. This one is, what edition is this? Third edition. And you do really need to get that because they are updated. I think I got this on Amazon, and I haven't read all of it, but I read a fair bit of it before we started. And whilst it doesn't necessarily, it's not something that you would necessarily refer back to or anything like that in your TMAs, it is very good for giving you context. So to learn about some of the things they're going to teach you, the context around it, so the history of things, and it just gives you a little taster, is what I would say, as to what you're going to come across. And yeah, I found it super helpful, and I'm actually going to finish reading it over the next couple of weeks. The next super helpful thing I found was this, which is the Return to Study Handbook. It's by Chloe Burrows, and she was a mature student at the OU, and so it gives you some really helpful, insightful tips, tricks, things like that in the book, which I don't know actually if it's aimed, I don't think it's particularly aimed at OU students, but as she is an OU student, there are things in there that are more helpful, I guess, for OU students. So, but yeah, it's excellent. I can't recommend that enough. And it's great to kind of dip in and out of it as well. So if you're having a time when you're feeling not so great with motivation, there is a section on motivation. If you're struggling to write an essay or to organize yourself, it gives you tips and tricks on that. So you don't necessarily even have to read the whole thing. You can just dip in and out like I did. And then this one is the Good Study Guide. It is an OU book, but I got this on, I want to say eBay. I think it was eBay. It's definitely worth looking for it. It's a 2005 edition, my one, but they don't send this out anymore. They used to send this out to every student who was studying with them, but I think now they kind of integrate a lot of what's in there within their modules. I think that's how it works. But when I mentioned in one of my learning journals that I had this, my tutor was so excited. He was like, oh, that book is so great. We used to send it out to everybody. And he was super keen on it. And I found it, I mean, I haven't read through the whole thing. It's pretty big. And I had enough reading to do with my module. But I found some really helpful things on, I really struggled with making notes. And I found some really helpful hints and tips and things like that on there. So that's definitely something that if you can find it in a charity shop or on eBay or something like that, I think it was like £4 or something on eBay. It wasn't particularly expensive. Then it's definitely worth getting, just to kind of, because it's specifically by the OU, it sort of gives you some of their teaching style hints and tips. Like I said, always use your tutorials. Don't miss them. If you do miss one, there's usually another one you can go to on the same topic. You don't have to only go to the ones that your tutor does. In fact, you'll probably struggle to find tutorials that are only by your tutor. But yeah, they've given me so much help, and it also reminds you that you're not alone because you're with a group of people, albeit online. The only thing I'll say is make sure you get there early, because they use Adobe Connect. I think it's Adobe Connect, and it's crap. I don't know why there must be a reason why they use that and not Zoom or Teams or whatever. But it's like getting the mic set up and getting the audio set up so you can actually hear them can take a little while if you're not used to it. So make sure you follow, there is like a little how-to section, so make sure you follow that. If you have any trouble, just ask in the chat box, and people will usually be happy to help. Or even like, there must be something on YouTube or something, maybe do like a little YouTube tutorial beforehand if you've never used it before, because it's not as user-friendly as some other options that I've used before. Yeah, literally just do what they say. Do what the tutors say. So if they say, like, I don't know if it's the same for all modules, but they're not, the way they said it to us, the way that they described it to us is, we don't want you doing outside reading unless the essay question specifically asks for that. If it's not specifically asking for that, they only want to know, they want references and things, and they want you to use information just from the materials that they've taught you from. And the reason being is that they're testing the knowledge on what you've learned. So I'm sure that changes in the higher level modules. It must do. But I do think that I got such good marks because I literally just did what they asked me to do. I didn't go outside of that at all. And I'll be honest, it kind of takes the pressure off a little bit. I am someone who likes to do outside reading and things like that, but it has taken the pressure off a little bit, where I didn't feel like I needed to absorb all this information, particularly when I wasn't well and things like that. The last thing I would like to talk about that I think was really helpful for me was Freshers Week. So I'll be honest, I'm a little bit introverted when it comes to meeting new people, especially since the pandemic. And I know you're not meeting people face to face, but you know, you are still meeting people, and most people have their cameras on and things like that. And I was really intimidated, but it was so good and it was so helpful. And there were loads of like tips and hints, and because a lot of them are run by sort of open university students who've been there a while. There are people that help run it that are like on their 4th degree with them or something. So yeah, it's really good, it's really helpful. And not only that, again, it helps you to feel like you're part of the uni experience. And you know, you can make some friends out of it as well. So yeah, I would definitely recommend it. They do little like quizzes and things like that, like little bingo things, and you can win a hoodie and stuff like that. So really good fun. I would definitely recommend it. I'm just checking my list to make sure I haven't forgotten anything, and I think that's it. So I just again want to say thank you so much for supporting my channel. And if you have any questions, pop them below and I will do my best to answer them. If I get a few questions that are around the same thing, then I'll do a video on it. If you do have anything that you particularly want to know and you would like me to do a video about it, just mention that in the comments and I'll be happy to do it. And if you haven't already, like and subscribe please, that would be really great. And that's it, and I'll see you next time. I'm hoping to do a lot more of these, so keep an eye out. All right, take care, bye.